The roar of tearing paper filled the boardroom as security yanked her chair back. Evelyn Cross's contracts, her life's work, were shredded and tossed to the floor, while the directors laughed. "You're finished here," the chairman sneered. Cameras flashed, board members whispered, and humiliation closed in like walls. A black woman was being erased from the very bank she created. But Evelyn didn't fight the guards. She smiled, because the storm about to crash through those doors would leave them ruined. The boardroom of Titan Bank looked more like a throne room than a meeting hall. A mahogany table stretched the length of the chamber, polished until it gleamed under the chandelier's cold light. On the far wall, a screen projected stock numbers, profits, and future deals, symbols of power. But none of that power was meant for Evelyn Cross. She sat at the head of the table, shoulders squared, folder in hand. She was the architect of Titan's success, the black woman who had turned a regional bank into a global powerhouse. But today, her board had other plans. "Enough," barked Chairman Walter Briggs, slamming his palm against the wood. "Your time here is over." Evelyn didn't flinch. "I'm the majority shareholder. This is my bank." Laughter burst around the table. Director Simon Reed leaned back, smirking. "Majority shareholder, please. You were a placeholder, a marketing symbol. But the real work, that was us." "Is that so?" Evelyn asked calmly. "Don't play innocent," Briggs snapped. "You've been outvoted. Effective immediately. You're relieved of all duties." He waved to security. 2 guards stepped forward, their hands hovering near her chair. Evelyn's voice was low but cutting. "I built this bank from the ground up. Every expansion, every merger, every client you flaunt at these galas. I brought them here." Simon sneered. "And now you're leaving. Consider it evolution." One guard grabbed her folder, ripping it from her hands. Contracts, deeds, and shareholder agreements spilled across the table like fallen leaves. Briggs scooped a handful, tore them in half, and let the pieces scatter to the floor. "She's done," Briggs declared. "Get her out." Phones rose. Several directors recorded, grinning at the humiliation. A few associates whispered, too afraid to intervene. Evelyn remained still, her dignity unbroken. "You don't belong here," Briggs said, spittle flying. "Not in this bank, not in this room, not in this world of power." The guards pulled at her chair. She stood slowly, brushing off their hands. "You're right about one thing," she said. "This isn't your world. It's mine, and you're about to learn why." Briggs scoffed. "Save your dramatics. You've already lost." But Evelyn reached into her purse, tapped a single button on her phone, and set it on the table. A red light blinked. "What's that?" Simon asked nervously. "A legal protocol," Evelyn said calmly. "Every word, every threat, every insult in this room is now streaming directly to my legal team. And they're on their way." Briggs's face paled. "She's bluffing." The boardroom doors slammed open. 3 attorneys strode in, their suits sharp, their expressions sharper. Each carried binders thick with contracts and evidence. Behind them, 2 federal regulators followed, badges flashing under the chandelier's glare. "Gentlemen," said lead counsel Dana Hughes, "I believe you've overstepped." The directors shifted uneasily. Phones dropped. The guards froze. "These documents you tore up?" Dana said, laying down a duplicate set. "Filed copies, untouchable. And they prove that Evelyn Cross is not only the rightful CEO, but the majority shareholder of Titan Bank. By removing her, you've committed fraud, violated fiduciary duty, and attempted criminal conspiracy." Simon's smirk cracked. This is outrageous." "Outrageous?" Dana snapped. "What's outrageous is calling security on the owner of this institution. What's outrageous is shredding shareholder agreements on camera. What's outrageous is thinking you could erase her without consequence." The regulators stepped forward. "We've seen enough," one said. "Effective immediately. This board is under investigation." Briggs slammed his fists again. "You can't do this!" Evelyn finally rose to her full height. Her voice was steady, controlled, devastating. "You called me a placeholder. You mocked me, dragged me, tried to erase me. But here's the truth. You were placeholders, and now your time is done." One by one, Dana slid termination notices across the table. Walter Briggs, removed from the board. Simon Reed, removed. Directors Colton, Myers, and Hughes removed. Security, now under orders from regulators, escorted the stunned men from the room. The guards who had touched Evelyn lowered their heads, ashamed. Phones continued recording, but the tone had changed. No longer was Evelyn the target of humiliation. She was the architect of justice. She looked to the young associate who had whispered earlier, fear in her eyes. "Did you record what happened before they tore the contracts?" The woman nodded, trembling. "Every second." "Good," Evelyn said. "That footage will protect not just me, but every employee and shareholder who deserves truth." The boardroom was silent, except for the shuffling of papers as the corrupt were dragged out. Evelyn turned to the regulators. "Audit everything. Every deal, every account. This house of cards collapses today." The regulators nodded. "It begins now." By the time Evelyn stepped out of the boardroom, news had already broken. Clips of Briggs tearing papers and ordering her removal spread like wildfire. Hashtags trended worldwide. Shim Cross Power, Shim Bank Justice, Shim She Owns It. Shareholders demanded answers. Clients called in fury. Within hours, Titan's stock plummeted. Not because Evelyn was weak, but because her strength had exposed the rot. That evening, Evelyn addressed the press outside Titan's headquarters. Cameras flashed as she stood at the podium, her voice calm but unshakable. "You saw what they tried to do," she said. "They thought humiliation could erase truth. They thought arrogance could erase ownership." The crowd outside Titan's headquarters stood in silence, thousands deep, listening as Evelyn Cross turned her personal ordeal into a public reckoning. Reporters leaned forward, their cameras locked, knowing these words would headline every paper by morning. "But arrogance is fragile," she continued. "It collapses the moment truth enters the room. And today, truth walked in, and it will not leave." The audience erupted, chanting her name. For years, shareholders, employees, and ordinary citizens had whispered about the corruption festering inside Titan. Now, they had a leader who didn't just expose it, she obliterated it. Inside the building, the fallout spread like fire. Desks once occupied by arrogant directors now sat empty, their nameplates removed. Compliance officers raided offices, seizing files that had been hidden for decades. Regulators announced sweeping probes into fraud, tax evasion, and insider trading. What began as Evelyn's humiliation had become the reckoning of an entire empire. Her phone buzzed constantly, calls from world leaders, CEOs, and activists. She answered few. Her priority wasn't saving face with the elite. It was restoring dignity for those who had been trampled by Titan's corruption. That night, headlines flashed across every screen. Evelyn Cross destroys Titan's old guard, and humiliation turns into justice. Social media blazed with clips of her calm defiance. Replayed millions of times, Evelyn didn't celebrate. She simply returned to her office, placed her hand on the glass wall overlooking the city, and whispered, "This isn't victory. It's the beginning. The bank she rebuilt would no longer be theirs. It would be hers. And for everyone who believed truth is stronger than arrogance. Stand with dignity, like if you believe respect can't be denied. Share this story so arrogance gets exposed. Comment your city in the moment that hit hardest. Then subscribe and turn on notifications. Because every reckoning deserves to be witnessed."